Alright, this is lesson 8.5b, add and subtracting rational expressions. We're going to be doing basically the same thing as yesterday, except now we're going to actually have fractions. So the first thing I want you to notice is, like, if I have 5 over 12, and I'm adding that to 3 over 8. In the lesson we learned that our least common denominator is going to be 24 between 12 and 8. So if I make this 24, then I'm multiplying it by 2. So that means I also have to multiply the top by 2. So this is really going to be 10 over 24 plus, and 8 has to be multiplied by 3 to get to 24, so I have to multiply top and bottom by 3, which is 9 over 24. So then my answer would be 19 over 24. What I want you to remember is this piece. Remember that you have to multiply by something on top and bottom to get your denominator, because it has to be equivalent. 5 over 12 is the same as 10 over 24. If I didn't change my 5, then I would have 5 over 24, which is not the same as 5 over 12. So to start out, we're going to find the least common multiple. So our least common multiple for this one, looking at it, I can factor out a 5. So I can factor 5 and have x squared minus 2. So this is just going to go to 5, and I can't factor x squared minus 2 anymore, so that's going to stay there. And then this one, I can factor out a 15x. So then I'm left with x squared minus 2 again. So this is going to go down to 15x and x squared minus 2. Remember, this has to stay a whole piece. Then this 15x is going to break down to 15 and x. And then I have x squared minus 2. And my 15 is going to go to 5 and 3. So now I'm going to look for my matches, and I have 5s. So my 5s go together. So I have 5 out here. And then I have x squared minus 2 in both of these. So I have this and this, x squared minus 2. And then left over, I have a 3 and an x. So this is also multiplied times 3 and times x. Now, 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 times x is 15x. So I have 15x times x squared minus 2 as my least common multiple. So now I'm going to use this information and solve this equation over here. So my common multiple is 15x times x squared minus 2. The real goal is for me to figure out what I need to multiply the top by in order to get this. Now, if I were to distribute this, so if this were to distribute, it would be 15x times x squared, which is 15x cubed, and then 15x times negative 2, which is negative 30x. That is this thing. Now, how do I make my 15x cubed into 5x squared and negative 30x into 10? So I can multiply by 3x on the top and bottom, because if I multiply by 3x on this piece, then I have 15x cubed, and 3x times negative 10 is negative 30x. So my first equation is going to be 3x over 15x cubed minus 30x, and that's already this denominator, so it's just going to be plus 1 over 15x cubed minus 30x, which is going to be equal to 3x plus 1 divided by 15x cubed minus 30x. Okay, now for our next example. We're going to subtract expressions with unlike denominators. So this one has an x and this one has a y. Now, I can't break those down at all, so I can't find a least common multiple. So my common denominator is just going to be x times y. Common denominator equals x times y, which is just xy. So this side I need a y, so I'm going to multiply this side by y over y. And this side needs an x to make this x over y. So this side is going to be multiplied by x over x. So then I have 5y over xy plus 7x over xy. And now I have a common denominator, so I just add my top. So I have 5y plus 7x divided by x times y. And then that's it. So now let's look at some that are a little bit more difficult. We're going to simplify this. Now, our step 1 says factor our numerator and denominator. So this one here, I can't really factor my numerator, so my numerator is going to stay. And then my denominator I can factor by making it 5 times 2 times x, because that would be 10x squared. Now, 2x can't really be factored except for it can be 2 times x. And then my denominator here is going to be, we can take out 5x. So I have 5x is, or multiplied by x minus 2 like such. Okay, so now I'm going to find the least common denominator. So I have matching 5s, so I can take my 5 out. So my 5s go away because this is the same as 5 times x. Then I have an x, which can also come out. And then I have my leftovers, which is 2 and x, so times 2 times x, and then times my x minus 2. So this leaves me with 10x squared, because 5 times 2 is 10, x times x is x squared, times x minus 2, like that. So now, I'm going to multiply to get a common denominator, and I need to make sure that I have to multiply my numerators so that it's an equivalent fraction. So this started as 10x squared. So what I'm missing out of this piece is my x minus 2. So I need to multiply the top and bottom of this first part by x minus 2. So I really have 3 times x minus 2 over 10x squared times x minus 2. And then I'm going to add my second half. And if I have my second half, I'm trying to get 5x times x minus 2 to be equal to 10x squared times x minus 2. So I need to multiply the top and bottom by 2x. Because if I multiply by 2x, then I have 5 times 2, which is 10, and x times x, which is x squared. So if I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2x, then I have 2x times 2x on the top divided by 10x squared and x minus 2 on the bottom. So now I can just combine my terms and simplify. So I'm adding. So I have 3x minus 6 plus 2x times 2x is the same as 4x squared divided by 10x squared times x minus 2. And now I can just reorder this, so I have 4x squared plus 3x minus 6 divided by 10x squared times x minus 2. Now, if that didn't make sense, I need you to go back and watch it again. Now let's do the last example, and then you're going to have one to practice with on your own. So I have x over 3x minus 15 minus 2x plus 2 divided by x squared minus 4x minus 5. Now, step 1, factor numerator and the denominator. So I can't factor this, so I have x divided by, and I can take 3 out of this one, so I have 3 times x minus 5. And then I'm going to subtract this one, and I can take 2 out of here, so I have 2 times x plus 1 divided by, now we can factor this, so I need 2 numbers that multiply together to be negative 5 and add together to be negative 4. So let's do x minus 5 and x plus 1. Now, this one's nice because I have an x plus 1 that I can cancel. So then I'm going to be left with x over 3 times x minus 5 minus 2 over x minus 5. Now, to find my least common denominator, or my least common multiple, this stands for least common denominator, by the way, and this is least common multiple. This is going to go down to 3 and x minus 5, and this is x minus 5. So I have x minus 5 as my matches, and then I have 3 as my leftover. Now, this is a little bit simpler in a sense, like I need to look at this and say, what is this missing in my denominator? So this is 3 times x minus 5. 3 times x minus 5. Nothing. So I don't have to change my first part because my common denominator is this denominator. So I have x over 3 times x minus 5 minus, now, what is missing in this denominator here that is in my least common denominator? A 3 is missing, so I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. So I have 2 times 3 divided by 3 times x minus 5, which makes my common denominator. So now I have x minus 2 times 3, which is 6. So I have x minus 6 on the top divided by 3 times x minus 5 on the bottom. And then I'm done. Now, there's one more, and I want you to do that on your own. Sorry, my step 4 was to simplify, which was right here. So this I should have written down here. But I want you to do this problem in the same format. I want you to factor the numerator and denominator, find the least common denominator and least common multiple, multiply by the common denominator, and simplify. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the answer so you can check yourself when you're done. Once you simplify, your answer should be x squared plus 3x minus 4 on the top divided by 3x squared times 3x minus 4 on the bottom. So that should be your answer once you solve this so you can check yourself. Have a good night.